about time that I turn the program over to my demoters, or dementors, as they would say in Harry Potter. So here we go for our last quarter Vice President, Jan Mays. I promise to be faster and funnier today. I've never been funny. Hopefully today is funny. If you don't think it's funny, it was the rest of the board that did this. If you think it's funny, I wrote it. So very quickly, I want to introduce our guests. Arlene Walter, our lead guest of Mike Walter. Sophia, Isabella, and James Nacarado, guest of Sarah Nacarado. Hi, girls. Ryan Weigart, guest of Josh Owen. And Paige Amlin, guest of Cindy Allen. And finally, my nephew, visiting from Stanford, Gianni Mays. Welcome. So this is the big demotion. A lot of pressure on us at the board to make it faster and funnier. In the spirit of coming up with a theme for the demotion today, we were trying to think what was appropriate for Carl Ann. She had asked that I kind of keep politics out of the quarter. So I did that up until today. So we're going to have a little bit of fun. Thank you to all the board members that were a big part of this. We were thinking about the four-way test, and Carl Ann is such a true Rotarian, and how we could tie those two together. And I think the first question that we answer in the four-way test is it the truth? So if any of you remember the show back from 1957, To Tell the Truth.
And here is our host, Bud Collier.
Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're here, so welcome to Tell the Truth. We are here again with our game of deliberate misrepresentation, and where four persons of reasonably good intelligence are sworn to challenge three challengers are sworn to tell the truth and decide who the real Carl Ann Wylie is. And now let's meet our cross-examiners.
We got so excited that I almost fell out of my chair.
Well, that was great. Nobody knew that I screwed up the first part. I just had to watch in. This is great. It's pretty funny, but that's pretty dangerous. Our first cross-examiner, Congressman Wiener. Like to introduce yourself, please? You've already done that. Congressman Wiener, I'm sorry to hand this to you, what it looks like, but you'll just have to do that.
You know, Bud, it's okay. It's been a month of constant disrespect. I can barely stand it. I'm excited to be here and talk to Carl Ann and figure out who is the real Carl Ann today. Thank you for having me.
Okay, Congressman, nice to have you. Our next cross-examiner, please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Bud, for having me. You're doing a heck of a job. Don't get away.
I'll do my best. Our next cross-examiner.
I'm Sarah Palin, Bud. And you betcha I'm happy to be at something where I know the questions ahead of time.
And our fourth cross-examiner.
I'll be happy to leave California.
Daddy!
Oh, wait a minute.
Daddy!
Let me feed him some whiskey here. That'll calm him.
bring out 3 challengers that are going to, two of them are imposters and one of them happens to be the real Carl Ann. Will our group please come out? Okay, thank you. Number 1, what is your name?
My name is Carl Ann Wylie, and I'm from the great state of Kentucky.
Number 2, what is your name?
Does that mean? I am Carl Ann Wylie, and I am from the great state of Kentucky.
Number 3, what is your name?
Me llamo es Carol Ann. And yo soy from the south.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, just to make it a little easier for our examiners here, we're going to read a little affidavit that was written by Carl Ann earlier today. I, Carl Ann Wylie, was born in Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky. I graduated from the University of Cincinnati, majoring in graphic design. My mother and father both had the middle name of Carl. I have had my own advertising business in Louisville. I was once an escort for Douglas Fairbanks Jr. at a charity event in Louisville. My father was an executive of a meat packing company. Congressman, please. So we tried all the new products at home with our family. Almost half of our new walk-in closet is devoted to my shoes. I lived in Jackson Hole, Wyoming for several years. I never let Dawn forget that Jack Daniel's Tennessee Sippin' Whiskey is owned by a Kentucky company. And one of my greatest accomplishments and pleasures has been being the president of the Long Beach Rotary, the greatest Rotary club in the world. Now, cross-examiners, having read that affidavit and know a little bit about Carl Ann, we're going to have you cross-examine and ask some questions. Each one will have 2 minutes, but before we do that, we're going to have a quick word from our sponsor.
It isn't about hype.
Aw, Mom, you still clip coupons.
Well, it all adds up.
That's sweet, Mom. In honor of your thriftiness, I'll serve...
Maker's Mark is a full-flavored bourbon with a smooth and easy finish.
You're such a good son. I'm so glad you dropped by.
I love coming home, Mom.
Patty, call the doctor. It's been more than 4 hours. Hi, Jack.
I gotta go.
All right, we're going to go right straight to the cross-examinations. Congressman, you have 2 minutes. Ready to go.
Carl Ann, number 1. I understand you have a family affiliation with the meat packing business. Having packed a little meat myself, I'd like you to tell me all about
it. Well, you know, that was when I was working my way through college and needed a job real bad, and, you know, meat packing just came natural to me.
Carl Ann, number 2. I understand you're an excellent writer. If I were to send you a text message and maybe a picture on my phone, would you reply?
Well, I would, but I don't know how to text.
Carl Ann, number 3. I understand your sister Gail lives with Bucky in Norfolk, Virginia. Do you think she might like to get a picture or a text from me?
Me llamo es Carol Ann, and I am from the south.
Carl Ann, number 2. Tell me about these wild jacuzzi parties at the design conference in Aspen.
I actually never attended them.
Denying what I've done has never worked out well for me. Carl Ann, number 1. You were going to major in architecture, but you ended up majoring in graphic design. Were you following some sort of an affair of your heart?
Well, there was an affair involved, but it was more or less than hot, I suppose.
Time is up. Time is up. Must go to the next examiner. 2 minutes.
Thank you, bud. Carlin, number 1. I heard you had your own advertising business in Louisville. Can you help me advertise and market my properties? Please explain.
Well, when I had my own advertising company, it was mostly marketing Maker's Mark, the finest bourbon made in the South, or anywhere for that matter. So I haven't really marketed that much in the way of real estate.
You're fired. Plan number 2. I understand that you attended a Jesuit theology or at Berkeley in the 1960s and roomed with a Jesuit theology student. My question is,
Well, I didn't room with any of the Jesuits there.
really, what was that sweet smoky smell coming from your dorm room?
Oh, I can answer that question.
Carland, number 3. I have wonderful properties in Jacksonville, Wyoming, and I understand you lived there for several years. Can you help me in marketing my assets in Jackson Hole?
Well, I'm not very familiar with that part of the world, but it sounds cold, and I'm not gonna attempt that. Okay. Laughter here. Insert laughter.
30 seconds.
Carland, number 2. I understand you just remodeled your home, and I've reviewed all the plans and the contractors' overbids, or pardon me, redos, and understand you have shoes that you haven't worn in 10 years. Do you know how expensive that is to house all those things that you don't use? Can you please explain how you can have shoes that you haven't worn for so long?
I can't explain that, but I did find several of them in storage.
2 minutes. 2 minutes is up. 2 minutes is up. And now on to our next cross-examiner. 2 minutes.
Well, I think I need to quit because I thought we were demoting Katie Couric. Carl Ann, number 1. I understand that in Kentucky, it's a great hunting and fishing state, just like we have in Alaska. Can you tell me, do you have a recipe for moose chili?
No, but I make some powerful grade possum chili.
Carl Ann, number 2. Can you tell me, who would you prefer to give an Eskimo kiss to? Would it be Henry Meyer or Don Wylie?
I refuse to answer that.
I can answer that question too.
Carland, number 3. Now, we've seen 2 Wylies as president of this organization. We've had one that was very, very hairy and one that was follically challenged. Can you tell me, how much hair does it take to be a good president?
Oh, Madam is not president. As you know, my Don is very, very dreamy. I will never say anything bad about my Donnie. Or his hair, or lack of hair.
Carland, number 1. If you could quit early and do a TV show, someone like I did, what would you do?
Well, I think it would have something to do with Maker's Mark, the finest bourbon made in Kentucky.
Thank you. Your time is up. Now we'll go to our cross-examiner number 4. You have 2 minutes.
Carl Ann, number 3. Let's go back to this shoe problem. Do you know all the makes of the shoes, or where did you get all these shoes?
Well, mostly the flea market. There's a whole place in downtown Los Angeles. Oh, very nice shoes there. I'll take you sometime if you like.
Carl Ann, number one, back to this jacuzzi party. What was going on in these parties? Could you elucidate? Were you drinking Maker's Mark?
Well, there was some Maker's Mark. I'll have to admit that. Hallucinations? No, I don't think so. I think mostly we just floated around in the hot tub and, you know, let our inhibitions go.
Carl Ann, number two, what in the heck did you do in Jackson Hole, Wyoming for several years?
I skied. I learned to ski.
Oh, they have skiing here. All right. Does anybody else have any questions out there? All right. You graduated from the University of Cincinnati. What's famous about the University of Cincinnati, number two?
Let's see, it had 2 NCAA basketball championship teams.
Was that in, what millennium was that?
Well, Oscar Robertson played at the University of Cincinnati.
1960. Yeah. Okay. Haven't worn the shoes.
Go there.
Luckily, Governor, your time is up. There we go. Now, I'd like to ask all of our cross-examiners, you've had an opportunity to ask questions to each one of our contestants, and please vote for either number one.
But before, we have to have some libation that will take them through the voting process.
That's right. Everyone gets one shot, and then you have to vote. Okay, you've all had a chance to vote. Cross-examiner number one, who did you vote for and why?
I voted for Carl Ann, number one, because I think she's a genuine artist, and she's way sexier than these other people.
Number two, who did you vote for and why?
I voted for Carl Ann, number two, because she couldn't explain that sweet smoky smell coming from her Berkeley dorm room.
Number three, who'd you vote for and why?
I voted for Carl Ann, number one. I don't think he's a real Carl Ann, but he's way hotter.
Number four, who'd you vote for?
I voted for number one, too. I love those curls and was hoping maybe we could get a little time together there.
Senator Wiener.
Okay, Congressman Wiener, thank you very much. You'll always, I know you've retired from Congress, but you'll always be a Wiener for us. Thank you very much. So, we've come to that point. Everyone has had a chance to cross-examine and vote, and let's see how our examiners do. Will the real Carl Ann Wylie please stand up?
Now this is Bud Collier saying good night and reminding you to tell the truth. Good night, everybody.